Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." The original OP is Let's Roll 4824, posted to r/TrueOffMyChest, posted September 11th, 2025. I think my kid's school lied about calling CPS rather than calling my husband to pick her up. Our daughter, 7, started school last month. I told the front office under no circumstance should they call me if something happens to her, especially Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I work and I am not allowed to have my phone on my person while working. They were told explicitly to call her father, who works overnight but is home all day as a result. I get to my lunch break today, and what do I find but 16 missed calls from the school? I assume she's been hospitalized or there's been an active shooter, something horrible that warrants 16 calls to the parent they were told not to call. I call the school frantically before even looking at my voicemail and find that they called me because she threw up. Threw up. Blood? Nope, regular throw up. But because I didn't answer, this woman considered it abandonment and made a call to CPS. I asked if they'd called my husband. Nope, just me, and I didn't answer, which isn't allowed. I called him, and he went to pick her up. There was a woman sitting with her in the nurse's office who was also there during orientation night. But she wasn't our kid's teacher or administration, so we didn't get introduced to her. As soon as my husband got there, she scurried off. And when he asked the woman at the front desk who she was, she reiterated that she had called someone about your wife abandoning your daughter, and told him if it happened again, it would be a lot more serious, and we should consider making sure mom's always there when her kid needs her. There is no fucking way that a CPS agent is just hanging around this school at all times, and didn't bother to stick around to lecture a parent who abandoned their kid when they showed up. I think they lied because they don't like that dad is supposed to be their primary point of contact. I'm going to follow up with the principal when I've calmed down, of course, but what the actual fuck? Some of OP's comments. Commenter: is it documented that you are unavailable for those 3 days, or is dad listed as the primary contact? OP responds: both. It was all written down explicitly when we were filling everything out. He's the primary, and I'm the secondary with special instruction. Her grandmother is the emergency contact, and also wasn't called. Top commenter: make sure it's well documented. They need to follow the communication orders you gave them. They don't get to decide that the mother must answer. I'd threaten a lawsuit if they continued this behavior and make false CPS reports. OP responds: it's all in writing, and has been since we first started filling out the paperwork. If you mean the woman claiming she called CPS, unfortunately, I only had that conversation over the phone call and not a text message. Commenter: CPS will provide you with a letter to document the investigation, and then another letter to confirm that it was founded, or if no evidence was found. You can call CPS and ask them to confirm if you're being investigated. If the school didn't exhaust all means of contact, CPS is way too overburdened to send someone to investigate this. Sounds like bullshit to scare you. OP responds: I'm almost positive it is. There is no actual way a CPS person wouldn't have at least spoken to my husband when he showed up, whether they really believed this was abandonment or not. Commenter: I'm willing to bet it was a school counselor or a social worker. If they did complain, CPS has 72 hours to follow up if substantiated. OP responds: that would make more sense. They definitely work there and aren't a direct teacher, and the counselors are split up based on students' last names. So we met hers, but I know there's at least 5. To an idiot commenter saying OP should have had her phone, regardless of the rules. I'm including one comment from OP because I like it. OP: no, it is not allowed on my person, period. Nothing with a battery is that isn't distributed by the company itself, and our assigned pagers do not allow outside calls. You can look at your phone on your breaks. LOL. What do you think people did before cell phones? Do you think kids were just keeling over in the nurse's office because the home phone wasn't picked up and the office was too stupid to try anything else? Later in the comment thread to, quote, "No job is too important not to let you have your phone for your kid," end quote. When the battery in the phone signal could disrupt the equipment or cause excessive static and cost tens of thousands of dollars in damages, it is. Especially when that person has other family members who should be called first. Sounds almost like OP works in a clean room. Update, September 18th, 2025, 1 week later. First off, thanks for everyone for their supportive comments, especially Beige and Beauty Katie for the email template. It was very nice, although I did start off by sending something less confrontational. Quick little Oz note here, I did take a peek at the email format, and it's not necessary for the story, considering this is not what OP ended up sending. To answer the most common questions, the school had documentation to call my husband, or his mother, ever since we enrolled there. I double-checked our computer portal with the school website, and it's still listed that way, including that I can't be contacted for anything that might be time-sensitive. I cannot have my phone on my person while I'm working, period. My workplace has an automatic answering machine for public calls, so even if the school did call them, I wouldn't get the message for probably another half hour at absolute best. Even then, I work about 30 to 40 minutes away if traffic is good. Yes, I am in a more traditional area, although it's never been too huge of a deal before besides having to commute to the city for work. This is not going to be the super dramatic update I'm sure a lot of people were hoping for. Sorry? First off, I did not jump straight to getting an attorney to threaten them. I did call and ask a local family law firm, and the person I spoke to told me if we did have to go as far as suing, it would look better to try to exhaust options on my own before threatening legal action. But they would be happy to look over any communications between us, and we could CC them on any emails, and ask me to get any information on the potential neglect/abandonment case I could while they looked into it as well. I started by sending a follow-up email to the principal and CC'd the superintendent and law person on it, asking for confirmation that they had checked our file for who to call, more details on who exactly was spoken to at CPS, any case numbers, and the name of the person who is sitting alone with my sick daughter and did not speak to my husband or identify themselves. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the principal was out of town for several days with some family emergency. After a day with no reply, the superintendent emailed me directly asking for more details, and I sent them an email outlining exactly what had happened from our perspective, screenshots from my phone, my husband's phone, and his mother's phone, showing the phone calls and the lack of them. Monday, the principal finally got back to us, and we got some answers. The woman sitting with our daughter was one of the school counselors, just not the one assigned to her. No one actually contacted CPS. There is no case open against us. That was just a straight-up lie. The woman who told me she had actually called the school's social worker, not CPS, who then sent the counselor to sit with her, instead of, telling her that was ridiculous or going himself. The counselor claims she was under the impression that she was just keeping our daughter company until the parents arrived, since there was no nurse that day. But if that was the case, she should have at least said hello, right? And I'm not sure if he was supposed to tell me this, but apparently this is not the first time they've had issues with how she reports to fathers or male caregivers in general, which I want to know, if that's the case, why didn't anyone do anything about it before? Like, what the fuck? As of now, she's been suspended pending investigation. Obviously, these aren't all of the details, but this is the gist of it. I'm sure a lot of people were hoping to hear I'd sued the school for defamation, harassment, threatening, or whatever else, and gotten that stupid woman fired for being a misogynistic bitch. But this is what I've got, LOL. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, it sounds like the woman's behavior will be doing all the work of getting her reprimanded and or fired. OP responds, hopefully fired. Commenter, downvoted, but included for OP's answer. I'm confused because in your first story you said that the woman sitting with your daughter took off, but that it was the front desk person who lectured your husband about you abandoning your child. It sounds to me like both women need to have a level of discipline around the fact that fathers can be first-line caregivers. Opie responds, no? Question mark? I said the woman sitting with her was one we didn't recognize, who was not her teacher or administration, but who we'd seen at orientation. Not that she was the one who called us. Commenter, if she has a problem with male caregivers, why not just call mother-in-law? Opie responds, my only guess is she has a gender-neutral / somewhat masculine name and is listed as grandparent in the checkbox. So maybe they assume she was a man. Shrug emoji. Commenter, who got suspended, the counselor lady or the lady at the desk? Opie responds, the desk, sorry. Although I kind of feel the counselor should have gotten some of that too for going along with this bullshit. But I'm not privy to every single detail of disciplinary action. So I've got like two theories on this one. Either A, it's pretty much what the school board spelled out and, this person who's for some reason manning the front desk has a known history of not contacting male parental figures in a child's life. That sounds like a recipe for disaster, and why were they allowing this person to continue manning the phones or dealing with children's parents, if this was a known issue? That seems like it's a massive liability, and the fact nothing was done sooner really raises a lot of red flags. The second tinfoil hat pet theory that I have is that the person at the phone desk enjoys getting parents in trouble or stressing them out, or enjoys having the moral superior high ground. I've dealt with people, and I'm going to try to explain this in the best way that I possibly can, where they will do the right thing, but purposefully do it the exact wrong way, in order to pretty much cause it to fail. But because they were diligently trying despite doing it the wrong way on purpose, they now get to yell at you or make it your problem that despite them not doing what was said, it somehow still falls back onto you. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that properly, but basically they are purposefully doing the wrong thing in such a way so that way they can have plausible deniability and then place all the blame on you. Like they enjoy being mad at you or something along those lines. But personal pet theory is that I wonder if the front desk lady, if this is just like how she gets her kicks, is just by scaring parents. She looks at this kid's file, sees the rules and instructions that the mom should not be contacted because she doesn't have her phone, calls 16 times, and then turns around and swings with, well, I actually tried to call you, but you didn't pick up like a good parent. So I'm getting CPS involved because you abandoned your child. It's like they purposefully ignored the information at hand just so that way they could swing with some scary threat and make their day a little bit worse just because they could. I know that I am prescribing a shit ton of malice right now, but when I look at the situation of someone reads a kid's notes, they see, do not contact this person, here are other contact options that are almost guaranteed, and they proceed to call the do not contact this contact 16 fucking times, and after receiving no communication on the contact that was said that would not communicate back, they then throw a, we're getting CPS involved. I'm kind of just left to believe that they're doing this out of malice. Because if it's not malice and they really just cannot communicate with a child's male parental figures, then they should not have this job. Because if that's the case, then what happens if a kid is only being raised by a single father? What happens then? And the worst part about all of this is I know this is not some unique incident. This is, unfortunately, probably really common, where the father is put at the wayside and the mother is prioritized, even if the father is the better option to get into contact with for the child's immediate safety. And I'm not even beginning to touch upon them, just making the false claim that CPS is involved. I feel like that was some kind of crime that was committed, whether it was impersonating an agent or something along those lines, and there is some serious repercussions beyond losing her job that could be just faced down the pipeline because of this weird game that she chose to play. Not only did you just throw the proverbial fork in the microwave that was your career, but I do wonder if there's any potential legal ramifications beyond that. Although, unfortunately, even if there was, it'd probably be swept under the rug, so I don't know. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Independent B8517, posted r/Am I the Jerk? September 5th, 2025. Am I the jerk? My fiance told me, this is it. Take it or leave it. So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. My fiance, Tom, 37 male, and I, 28 female, have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a nonprofit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back, but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns around $10K a month and has $100K saved. I have millions invested and about $40K month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. And that's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer, you buy the house, we each own 50%, I'll sign the prenup, take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up, if I said no. He hesitated, but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of the assets I work to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotage my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Am I the jerk? So, Hyg's advice here, rule number 1, never give an ultimatum if you're not prepared for either outcome. Because then you're just gambling, and if they call your bluff, you look like a fool. Relevant comments, J0516. The first dumb thing you did was tell him the amount of money you have, because even if y'all do stay together and eventually get married, he's going to be constantly thinking about that money and trying to find ways that he can get as much of it that he can. Y'all gotta learn how to stop running your mouth so much. I understand that you kind of gotta let your mate know a little bit, but he did not need to know exactly how much money you have. Men can be just as greedy as women. Let a woman find out that a man's got a bunch of money, she's going to do everything in her power to get as much of it as she can. It's going to consume her. Men can be the same way. I think you breaking up with him was probably the best thing to do because your marriage will be all about money. OP responds, I agree with you. I normally don't talk about money or share this kind of information, but since we were engaged, I honestly thought it was only fair for both of us to understand where we stood financially. I realize now that it might have been a mistake. But at the time, I truly believed I was doing the right thing for our relationship. Sufficient Life 1406 responds, it was the right thing to do before getting married. Legally, when you get married, a lot of financial and legal relationships kick in. You have to lay your cards on the table before making this kind of commitment. Unfortunately, large amounts of money can make otherwise nice people crazy. I also came into money, and I'm lucky in that my husband is a responsible and honorable person, as well as being the love of my life. No grasping or ultimatums. Ugh. I'm sorry you had to go through that, OP. Your fiancé has shown you who he is. The money revealed his greed. I'm so sorry, and definitely not the jerk. Protect yourself from a lifetime of him caring more about your money than you. Good luck, OP. Sincerely. Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time, we were just starting to date and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship, we always split expenses 50-50. Dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities, since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. About his father moving in, this isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home, instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances. Initially, when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together, but once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house, and since I had the means, I should buy the house myself. But it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he could sleep in the guest room tonight, but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Thank you all so much for the support and comments, it means a lot. And just to clarify, this is a throwaway account I created for privacy reasons. Update, September 6th, 2025, the next day. Wow, okay, this blew up. Thank you so much for all your comments and support. This morning I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money, but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to 1. A bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed, nothing more. 2. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. 3. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. 4. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted. But another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Relevant comments. Cool ad 4073. Change the lock of the house while he's at the hotel. I'm serious. Like you said, he's untrustworthy at this point. If you have a sick family member, you and your family look after that person. Dragging someone you've been in a relationship for 6 months into this is very weird, inappropriate, inconsiderate, and enforcing of him. Hope he responds, Thanks for the advice. I'm calling a locksmith to change all the locks just in case. We've been together for 2 years, but only 6 months living together. User Loved a Jackass responds to OP. Please don't ever move a man into your home again. I know you are engaged, but next time look for a guy who owns his own home and has equity. I posted a few comments about people who marry to climb the property ladder. This guy has plenty of cash, or so he says, and could easily own a home or a condo. Somewhere. But he doesn't. He saw your nice home and figured he could marry you and get you to sell what you have, trade up, and he would be co-owner. Because once you marry and buy a new house, that's marital property. Don't do this again, please. You don't need to date men in your financial bracket, but find one who did what you have done. Invest in a home for himself. The other issue is the age gap. He's 37 and doesn't have his own home. Red flag. I don't know if that's fair. His dad is living on his own now, but he wants him to move in? Dad is probably in his 60s and may be capable of living on his own for 20 plus years. I have a friend who is 86, a cancer survivor, and living on her own just fine. Find a man who shares your values and who is no more than 4 to 5 years older. 30 to 32 is a good range. If he doesn't own a house or condo, he's not for you because you need someone who is your equal, not in terms of net worth, but in terms of financial values. Find a guy who wouldn't quit his job, even if he won the lottery. High school football coach, doctor, university scientist, look at values. The lottery is $1.8 billion today, and if I won it, I would still keep my job because I love my work. New update. Update 2, September 17th, 2025, 12 days later. Hi everyone, thank you so much for all the comments and support. I took some time to think, talked to my sister, my therapist, and my lawyers, and I've made my decision. As much as I cared for Tom, I realized I can't marry someone I don't trust. What happened broke that trust, and I know it would always be in the back of my mind in our marriage. Every financial decision, I doubt him, and that's no way to build a future. A few days ago, I asked him over and told him my decision. He admitted he messed up and wanted to try couples counseling, but I told him, we're broken up. I agree to counseling only as a way to see if reconciliation is possible someday, but truthfully, I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable. I had already packed his things, and he was hurt when he saw them. That was heartbreaking. Honestly, I felt really bad, but I knew I had to stand firm. He left with his things and is getting a new place. This has been heartbreaking and draining, but I know it's the right choice. Thank you again for the advice and encouragement. It really helped me get here. For those who worried about me making him homeless, don't. He makes good money, and we live in a tourist city. Before moving in with me, he lived in hotels and short-term rentals for months. He hasn't paid rent here for 6 months. He'll be fine. He's not ending up on the streets. Regardless if OP was male or female, they made the right choice here because their partner showed their true colors when they found out how much money that OP actually had laying around. Even if it was a genuine mistake, he still consciously provided the ultimatum. He found out how much money his fiancé was actually making and pretty much put it in front of her of, oh, you're going to do this, this, and this for me, or else we're going to break up. And to his surprise, OP was willing to break up. Because the thing is, OP's ex-fiancé is only upset because their ultimatum was declined. If OP had accepted their ultimatum, I highly doubt that OP's ex-fiancé would have woken up the next morning and rescinded their ultimatum, saying that it was unfair and that he didn't mean it. He would have rode that train. But it's because his ultimatum backfired and it ended with the relationship actually ending that now he's being remorseful. Because seriously, if in a different world, OP chose to allow the ex-fiancé to have equal equity in the home despite putting nothing down, do you really think he would have backpedaled on that the next morning like he is after the ultimatum's other option was chosen? I don't think so. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.